this video, I'm going to talk to you about audiences. So to get to audiences, I've first clicked on marketing on autopilot on the left-hand menu here, and then I'm going to click here on the actual audiences tab. Audiences is a place where all of your contacts are broken down by different filters. So we've created some audiences for you, some basic ones like all contacts or all buyers and several other ones, and I'm sure over time you'll end up adding lots yourself. What I want to talk about to start with is these two buttons up here, as they're really the only two main things on this page. Dynamic audiences and static audiences. What is the difference? So, a static audience is the way that you would usually create mailing lists inside some sort of email system, or possibly even inside something like Facebook. And what you would do is you would have your CSV file of people that you wanted to send your email out to, and you would load it into your system. So for instance, you've got a list of all vendors, and you have loaded it into a system that does email marketing for you, and you've called it all vendors, and then once in the system, you've sent your email marketing out to them. The problem with that is that if one of those people contacts you and says, oh, by the way, I've sold that house now and I rent a property, they're no longer a vendor. But in your marketing system, they're still sitting in there as a vendor. Now you could go in and delete them, but as time goes on and lots of people's circumstances change, your lists get out of date quite quickly. So static audiences, although we have the function here to add a static audience, are not really the best way to go about things. There might be some specific reasons that you want to create a static audience. Perhaps, I don't know, you've got a list of people that you hate, that you do not want to contact in any way whatsoever. And so therefore maybe you've decided that you're going to create an audience of people that we should never deal with these people, or something like that. I can't think of any real specific reason that static audiences are required over dynamic audiences. So let's dig into what is a dynamic audience. Dynamic audiences don't involve uploading any CSVs. So dynamic audiences are created based on the data that is already inside Lifecycle. So, for instance, let's look at the same analogy. You've got a CSV of vendors that you want to do mailing to. The way to do that would have been to upload the CSV in the contacts section. If we go there now, go to contacts, upload CSV, and we would have uploaded this CSV with all these people with this tag of vendor. So they're now sitting inside that system. If I go back to audiences, I could then go add me a dynamic audience. I can name it whatever I want to name this dynamic audience, test, and then just tick the vendor tab. And automatically up here it shows me how many people in my system match whatever it is that I've selected. So if I tick buyer as well, it will probably go down to 0 because it's just a test account and I haven't got anybody in there that's marked as vendor and buyer. The beauty of doing it this way is that when that person at a later date contacts one of your staff and says, actually, I'm not a vendor anymore, I'm a tenant, they can go in and they can go to that person's profile, untick vendor, tick tenant, and they will automatically get sucked out of the dynamic list because the dynamic list is only including people with the tag of vendor. So if I go back, so you can see why dynamic audiences is a much better option than static audiences. I personally would say that you should pretty much always try to think of how you could create your audience dynamically. Static audiences tend to go out of date pretty quickly. Once you've created your audience, be it dynamic or static, provided your Lifecycle system is linked up with your Facebook Ads Manager, you will then be able to also try and run Facebook ads to any of these people because Lifecycle has a sync directly into Facebook. What that means is that when you go into Facebook to create your ads, instead of just having Facebook's targeting tools, you'll also see all of these dynamic audiences and any new ones that you've created, and you'll have the option to try and run an advert to those people through Facebook. The last part of audiences up here is the search, which is pretty self-explanatory, and you can try and find audiences that you've created in the past using the search function. Hope that will make sense. Audiences is a really powerful function, but try to stick with dynamic audiences over static audiences.